Hello everyone, and welcome to another Top 5 to Stay Alive for June 2021. Well, today's Memorial Day, as you can see. God bless the US of A. And I am a 8-year veteran. I served in the Air Force 8 years, honorably discharged. Enough of that. Let's begin our Top 5 to Stay Alive. You know, I've been saying for years that the big food scientists have no idea what they're unleashing with genetically modified products. And now a GMO insider has finally blown the whistle and confirmed that we're right to be scared. A respected food engineer has sounded a major alarm specifically about GMO potatoes because there are at least 2 serious health risks associated with these frankentators. Potatoes that might be sitting in your home right now and could be toxic to eat. And once you hear what he has to say, you'll never touch another GMO food again. Just a few years ago, Dr. K.S. Ramans was a hero to the GMO food industry. Now, they can't run from him fast enough. As a researcher at Simplot Plant Sciences, Ramans developed a new type of genetically modified potato. It was supposed to be the next big thing, a potato that resisted bruising and stayed fresh longer. But fast forward to today, and Ramans is horrified by what he created. He figured out a way to basically silence the genes involved with the bruising process. But here's the problem. You end up shutting off all the genes that even look like genes related to bruising. How many genes are being altered? GMO scientists actually have no idea. Worse, Ramans says that there's a very real risk that once you eat a GMO potato, your genes could be attacked if they're structured like genes related to the bruising. How terrifying is that? These scientists aren't just manipulating potato genes, they could be manipulating your genes as well. And I haven't even told you the worst part yet. Genetically modifying potatoes increase their levels of something called alpha amino adipate by 6 times. What's alpha amino adipate? A neurotoxin that can react with sugars to produce an advanced glyc oxidation products implicating a variety of diseases, Ramans says. Are you kidding me? There are now neurotoxins in our potatoes. Ramans actually has a book out called Pandora's Potatoes, and it's a must-read if you want to learn more about the GMO issue. You can find it through the online retailers like Amazon. It makes a great gift for those you love. Topic number 2. You know what? America is losing the cancer battle. This dreaded disease is getting the better of too many patients. People we know and love aren't living longer, and they're not living better either. Why? Because conventional oncologists in this country are failing their patients. And you could be next. The crazy thing is that we should be winning this war because the Russians have discovered something that can kill cancer and keep it from spreading. I'm talking about multiple types of cancer, even the most commonly diagnosed ones that's leading the cause of cancer death worldwide. And patients who use it experience practically 0 side effects. Here's what your cancer doctor has been keeping from you. You already know how medicinal mushrooms have shown enormous potential in fighting many of the biggest health concerns we face today. Well, there's one mushroom in particular that you need to know about if you're in the crosshairs for cancer. It's the chaga mushroom, a fungus found growing on a birch tree in cold climates. It doesn't look much like a mushroom with its black color and hard texture. And because you can use it to start fire, some folks call it the tinder fungus. But in fact, it's got one of the densest nutritional contents of all tree growths. Maybe that's why the Japanese call it the diamond of the forest, or why the Chinese call it king of plants and revere it as a life-extending agent. But it's the Russians who pioneered the medicinal use of this mushroom of immortality, with the U.S. Ministry of Health adding this gift from God, as they refer to it, to the Soviet pharmacopoeia in 1955. And you can still get this cancer-fighting medicine in former Soviet countries, not just Russia and Siberia, but also the Baltic states today. That's because the chaga mushroom has been proven to kill cancer cells selectively, induce cancer cells self-destruct mode, and suppress tumor growth, inhibit cancer progression and spread, and finally, enhance the immunity. And it doesn't just work on one type of cancer, but several, including colon cancer, lung, liver, cervical, and skin cancers. The most intriguing part of chaga mushroom's anti-cancer action is that it's more than just the fungus that gets to work, but also the pieces of wood that it grows onto. As I mentioned, you can find chaga growing on birch trees, and these mushrooms derive anti-cancer compounds from the birch. Since many different agents within the chaga mushroom appear to possess activity against cancer, the most powerful way of fighting cancer with it may not be isolating a single compound, but rather taking a whole chaga extract. Even if it doesn't make your cancer disappear, it's been shown to help cancer patients feel better, as it has reduced fatigue and sharpened the brain. That's a godsend for any cancer patient who's ever experienced chemo brain. Look for chaga mushroom extract in a powdered capsule form at your local health food store or online, and it's spelled CHAGA. Moving on to topic number 3. There are some things we all know we should never do. You should never stick your hand in the lion cage at the zoo. You should never stop out into a busy highway, and you never stand between Dr. Fauci and a microphone. If you're a doctor, you're supposed to know to never give certain drugs to heart failure patients, because some common meds can worsen the condition. Given that within 5 years, 50% of people diagnosed with heart failure are pushing up daisies, these aren't little oopsies. These errors could be deadly, but a staggering new study reveals how it happens anyway and all the time. Here's the urgent warning you and your loved ones need to be aware of, ASAP. Your doctor's biggest mistake, it's right in the basic guidelines, a list of medications I'm talking about. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory pain relievers such as ibuprofen, metformin, blood sugar lowering drug for diabetes, dilacizem, a calcium channel blocker for hypertension, albuterol, a bronchodilator used for COPD, and more. Patients already on these meds should be taken off them as soon as they're diagnosed with heart failure, and patients who already have heart failure should never be given the drugs in the first place. Yet the new study finds that 49% of patients hospitalized with heart failure are either already on the drugs when they're admitted, or worse yet, they're given the drugs while inside. In some cases, sharp-eyed doctors spot the mistake. Whether they were on the drugs before they came in or given the drugs after admission to the hospital, 17% were taken off them or had them reduced during their stays. But hold your applause. Not only is that number far too small, the study found the opposite also happens. In 12% of patients, the use of these dangerous drugs actually increased. Yet these clowns have the nerve to call those of us in natural medicine quacks. I know, you got plenty on your mind already. The last thing in the world you need is one more thing to worry about, especially when you're in the hospital. But given the reality, given the number of mainstream doctors clearly asleep at the switch, you're going to need to double check your meds. If you already have heart failure and know it, check your medicine chest now for anything that matches that list. And if you've never been diagnosed with heart failure, but get the news in a hospital after a big scare, you've got to check your meds in 2 different ways. First, check the meds you're on, then check the meds you've been given. You use Google for a complete list, or have a one-on-one with your pharmacist who can go over each drug with you and sort out what's what. As always, don't quit on your own, but speak to a doctor as soon as possible. And always remember, the third leading cause of death behind heart disease and cancer is properly prescribed medications. So always do your homework before popping the pills your doctor is sending you home with. Topic number 4. When it comes to selling its drugs, it doesn't look like any devious plan is off limits for Big Pharma. The most recent expose concerns Novo Nordisk and how the drug maker schemed to make its blockbuster Type 2 med a bestseller despite its link to thyroid cancer. The Justice Department filed a complaint to take away, as it is said, some of the company's ill-gotten gains for putting vulnerable patients at risk. To settle, Novo had just forked over a whopping $60 million. Considering, however, that the drug maker raked in over $2 billion on this dangerous med last year, that's really nothing more than a slap on the wrist. But despite how many complaints are filed and how much Novo pays to settle them, a whole lot of vulnerable patients are still at risk. When Victoza was okayed by the FDA back in 2010, it didn't exactly come out of the gate with a clean bill of health. This type 2 drug, called the GLP-1, fairly new class of diabetes meds, had already been shown to cause medullary thyroid carcinoma, a type of thyroid cancer in lab animals, and the FDA thought, risk could extend to people as well. So as a condition of Victoza's approval, Nova was instructed to follow something the FDA concocted for dangerous drugs it wants to approve, called Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy, or REMS. This is supposed to ensure that drugs' risks don't outweigh its benefits, only it's done after a med is approved, prescribed, and taken by millions. Call me crazy, but shouldn't that be what the FDA figures out before it releases a drug on unsuspecting patients, or should I say guinea pigs? Well, it looks like even REMS was too much for Novo to comply with. The company did everything possible to underplay any potential risk when selling Victoza to doctors. The DOJ complaint tells about a full-scale plot on Novo's part to counter and neutralize the cancer risk for this drug by arming its sales force with messages that would make doctors believe there was nothing more to worry about. Sales reps were coached into how to make the danger seem unimportant by sandwiching the information about thyroid cancer between fancy promotional brochures, and even perform skits to have it appear as if cancer connection was irrelevant and didn't apply to people just like lab animals. But even before all this came out, experts were saying this drug was bad news. Several years ago, the consumer group Public Citizen even tried to get Victoza banned. It filed a petition with the FDA not because of the thyroid cancer, but about its off-the-chart risk of pancreatitis. On top of that, 4 years ago, researchers from UCLA and the University of Florida found something that should send shivers down the spine of any doctor who prescribes Victoza or any GLP-1 drug for that matter. And that was abnormal cell growth, precancerous changes found in the pancreas of diabetics who had been taking these meds. As Public Citizen noticed, these findings align perfectly with the rapidly increasing number of reports submitted to the FDA of pancreatic cancer in patients using these GLP-1 diabetes meds, and allowing drugs that are linked to pancreatic cancer to stay on the market is extraordinarily reckless. Well, guess what? Victoza and all the GLP-1 friends are not only still on the pharmacy shelves, but still being prescribed as if nothing had happened. Big surprise, right? Certainly, if you had type 2 diabetes, you've got enough on your plate already without adding pancreatitis, thyroid cancer, or horror of pancreatic cancer. And that's why you need to do what the FDA's failed to do. Tell your doctor that as far as you're concerned, Victoza or other GLP drugs like Trulicity or Luxumia are simply far too risky to take. It's really sad, people. All right, moving on to our final topic of today. Say your child or grandchild receives a vaccine, any vaccine, and soon after they have a seizure or suddenly turn blue and limp or suffer the most dangerous side effect of all, life-threatening anaphylaxis. How likely would it be that you take them back to the pediatrician's office for another round of the same shot, or any shot for that matter? I'll take a wild guess, and I say slim to none, with the odds falling heavily on none. A new study out of Canada, however, says that if you take the approach, you've just been a silly anti-vaxxer. Supposedly, the chances that a serious reaction will ever happen again are super slim, even less than what you were told the chances of it happening the first time were. But that advice, fully endorsed by Mr. Vaccine himself, Dr. Paul Offit, doesn't just go against common sense, it also flies in the face of what the CDC and Big Pharma have said we should do under those situations, which is not to vaccinate with that drug or anything similar ever again. First, we're told not to give a second thought to vaccine side effects, why they're so incredibly rare. There's no reason in the world to worry. Now we're being told, yeah, they do happen, but if your kid suffers one, or more, then goes for additional shots, worry even less than you did the first time. If you approach the CDC with the same concern, however, you'll get an entirely different answer. For example, even this vaccine-happy agency says that anyone who has had a serious allergic reaction to the chickenpox should not get another one. Same for the measles, mumps, rubella, and varicella, as well as the diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, and on and on and on. And guess what? Those are the same warnings Big Pharma gives. Take Merck's Pro-Quad shot, MMRV, which is supposed to be given at least twice before a child turns 6. The drug maker says never to give the injection to someone with a history of hypersensitivity to any component of the vaccine. And certainly a hypersensitivity covers a lot more territory than coming close to death with anaphylaxis. So, what's going on here? Why are we being told to do something that's the exact opposite of those who profit from these shots say we should do? Could it be that the serious reactions from vaccines are much more common than we've been led to believe, and parents and grandparents are starting to say no in droves? Dr. Paul Offit, a guy who should have a big V tattooed on his forehead, says that one of the most common questions he gets just so happens to be, will kids have a repeat of vaccine adverse reaction? Offit calls the study findings very reassuring, but I'm thinking just the opposite. If the experts at the CDC throw around figures such as less than 1 out of 1 million children will have a severe allergic reaction to the MMR vaccine, with similar numbers for other shots, why is it that this study was even needed in the first place? The reassuring report done by the investigators with the Canadian Immunization Research Network had another interesting finding. Out of 400 young children who suffered a vaccine reaction called hypotonic hyporesponsive episodes, where they go limp and their skin turns blue after a shot, only 3 had it a second time after being vaccinated again. Well, that certainly makes me feel better. After all, how many patients want to see their baby turn into a Smurf after being given a vaccine for a second time? And I bet that risk isn't something pediatricians bother to mention either. But what's really scary is that there are 400 well-documented cases of kids who had this horrific reaction in the first place. What all this should do is make us seriously question if we're being given the whole story about what this portfolio of vaccines given to kids, many before they even get to kindergarten, are really doing to them. My suggestion is to take the road I'm taking with the COVID vaccine and tell people I identify as vaccinated so you can't touch me. Vaccines. And now they want to give them to 12-year-olds, and pretty soon it'll be 5-year-olds. The COVID vaccine. Don't do it, people. They're just an experimental drug, you know, and your child will become nothing more than a guinea pig. After they do the animal trials, which are slated for February 2023, then you can decide if you want to vaccinate your child, if they come out okay. Or if, like the last COVID trial they did with ferrets, they all died after 6 months. Not a good sign. Right now, everybody's got the vaccine. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm not getting it, so just beware. Okay, let's move on to testimonials. Dr. Harry, I've been on your product for 5 years, and it's amazing. I still take no drugs for my blood pressure, and I am 125/74, and when I went to have my blood work done, my doctor was amazed for my age how great it was. I also use Thermomax, and that also is a great product for aches and pains, so I highly recommend these products. Thanks for that, Randy. Number 2, I was referred to CardioForLIfe by a good friend and his wife who have been taking CardioForLIfe for about a year with excellent health and ongoing results. My wife and I began taking CardioForLIfe in August, along with another supplement to optimize our immune system function. The vitamins and minerals are very complete. We take both daily, have battled and beaten cancer. I consider CardioForLIfe a vital part of keeping my health intact moving forward. Thanks, Mike. Number 3, I've been a customer of Health Guardian for many years. I'm a regular user of CardioForLIfe, which I wouldn't be without. This product has been reviewed by my medical doctor and my naturopathic doctor, and they both agree that I should indeed continue using it for my health. The nicest thing is when you contact Health Guardian for any reason, you're treated like a human being, not just a number. Thanks for that, Nancy. Now calling number 300. Number 4. When I was originally made aware of CardioForLIfe by a friend, I had a light bulb moment. And decided that then and there to give it a try. It has exceeded my expectations considerably, and I have been on it for the last 10 years. There rarely would be a day that we haven't taken this wonderful drink. And that's from Bob in Australia. Well, thanks for that, Bob, down under. And that completes our top 5 for June 2021. Happy Memorial Day to you all. If you've served, thank you for your service. God bless America and God bless you all. This is Dr. Harry signing off.